Namaste and good evening to everyone. To all our honorable guests, esteemed speakers, and our viewers. आज यो प्रोग्राममा उपस्थित हुनुभएका महानुभावहरूलाई स्वागत छ. We are now live on Facebook page. I would like to request our audience to start a watch party or share it on your timeline. I would really and truly like to appreciate and thank everyone for your cooperation these past few weeks to bring this program to this level today. Continuous effort, not strength or intelligence, is the key unlocking our potential, said Winston Churchill. He said it is perseverance and spirit which is required to boost our willpower. People look to their leaders for guidance when confusion and panic ensue. We have seen successful leadership during global crisis before. Great wartime leaders have shown the staple of leadership during a tough situation, which includes inspiring and reassuring the masses while executing real-time solutions. It is my intense pleasure to moderate the panel for today. We hope this session will answer some of your sincere questions and help to provide some inspiration and key takeaway. The topic and the title for today is Way Forward for Youth Leaders, Leadership, Service, and Emotional Well-Being. At this point, I would like to welcome Rotary International District 3292, District Governor, past District Governors, District Officials, Lieutenant General President K.N.S. Thapa, RC Kathmandu Midtown, Young Professionals Vocational Training Chairman, Art of Living Nepal Corporate Programs, in collaboration with the organizations Leadership Academy, Zonta Club of Kathmandu, Toastmasters International, FNCCI, Team Nepo, presents a panel discussion with our speakers from different walks of life. Our very first speaker today, my pleasure to welcome all our panelists. Our first speaker is Dr. Arun R. Joshi, and he'll be speaking on the importance of managing and leading oneself to lead others. DG Rajib Pokhrel ji, Service for Community Cause and Leadership Roles. Pradhan, Investing in Yourself. Shekhar Golchha ji, Nepal's Economy and Opportunities during COVID-19. So as you can see, it's like variety of topics from each of these very qualified individuals that we have in front of us today. Before we go any further, I'd like to welcome again Lieutenant General K.N.S. Thapa ji.
Namaste. Very happy for the collaboration and wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, President. And now the Art of Living Chairman, S.K. Singh ji.
Namaste. We are happy to see this great collaboration with other esteemed institutions. I would like to wish you all the best from the Art of Living Nepal and Holistic Wellbeing Program Nepal. Thank you and namaste.
Thank you, Chairman. So how this program came about being is, with the Rotary Club of Kathmandu Midtown, we have young vocational training, youth vocational training. So we started this last year. And we decided to do webinars from time to time. So with the Art of Living Holistic Wellbeing and corporate programs, we decided to do a couple of these webinars in collaboration with other partners like yourselves. So wanted to thank everyone for your cooperation and your kindness to be together with us. Many creative ideas are emerging for the future roles of young leaders, especially in the context of life after COVID. One of the most important groups of our society today are the young professionals and entrepreneurs searching for the right answers and a proper direction during these uncertain times. They are also a group that brings great insight, motivation, and drive to address the many challenges that we face today. In this context, this webinar with the diverse panel will speak from their areas of expertise and experience and exchange views with our audience. The panelists will elaborate on different aspects of leadership and focus on factors that help develop confidence, purposefulness, emotional well-being, values, networking, partnership developments, and integrity in life. There is scientific evidence which suggests that engagement in service projects help to develop skills, expand connections with our surroundings, and a sense of belongingness, which is critical for personal growth and overall well-being. The objective of the session today is a dialogue to share experiences and information to provide some guidance and inspiration for the future. When the mindset is focused on inner development of the individual, the vision then is on what is possible rather than what is not. And today we need to hear more of this. What is possible? A positive mindset hones in and taps the inner potential even during the most difficult and uncertain times that we are faced with today. Therefore, today our speakers will key in on leadership skills and roles. They will also share the secret of what motivates them individually. How were they able to overcome life's challenges? Did they draw from their own inner wisdom, inner strength to switch from a negative to a positive mindset? What is the key? So we are expecting and looking for those answers from our 4 key panelists out here. With the current crisis, there are plenty of obstacles keeping individuals and organizations from moving forward with certainty. There is certainly no blueprint for best practices to help us navigate today's crisis or show us how to run our business effectively, but how we show up for our teams with empathy, with optimism, even when it cannot be justified. That will help others focus on what they can control instead of being consumed by the chaos that is around us. This brave act alone can make a world of difference for each one of us today. We will have a first round of sharing by the panelists, then a second round. And please start sending your questions. I'm speaking to all the audience. In the chat and in the messaging, when the second round begins, you can address the question to any of the panelists, which will be addressed at the end. Without further ado, please allow me to introduce our very first speaker, Dr. Arun R. Joshi, founder and CEO, Leadership Academy, Nepal, LAN. Arun R. Joshi is the founder and chief executive officer of Leadership Academy, Nepal, and the director of the Center for Human Assets at the Institute for Integrated Development Studies, Nepal. Prior to that, he was the lead education specialist at the World Bank, Washington, D.C. His experience spans education reform and program development and management in diverse range of countries in the Middle East, Africa, and South Asia. He is also an adjunct professor at George Washington University, Washington, D.C. He has a master's degree in international education policy and a doctorate in human development from Harvard University. I'd like to welcome Dr. Arun Joshi.
Thank you so much, Neeva Pradhanji, and really honored to be part of this very esteemed panel. I will share my few thoughts on what you've asked me to do. I will start, I will just launch my PowerPoint at this point and start the process. Welcome everybody. And I'm just trying to organize myself here. The title of my talk is Leading Oneself to Lead Others, Learning to Bring Out the Best in Ourselves and Others. And I think I'll just sort of, let me get to the, yeah, okay. So basically in this particular session, we want to focus on this notion that in order to better lead others and better lead teams, we need to be able to better manage and lead oneself. And there's no way in which we can lead others better without taking a leadership role with ourselves. I want to emphasize that this is just my personal take on this issue. There's never a right answer. So in a way, it's a very sort of a personal rambling of sorts. So there is no real, hard cut right and wrong answer in this. I do want to, however, draw on the evidence and well-known statements from leaders and thinkers. So some of the big names that I will be drawing upon while doing this are people like Chris Argyris, Peter Drucker, and then the Hafez and Lindsay, and Daniel Goleman, these types of people. There will be 2 rounds, as mentioned by Ms. Neeva Pradhan. The first round, I will emphasize and present to you a few concepts arising from the studies on civil and corporate leadership. These are things that many of you might even already have heard and studied, of course. And that is mostly drawing from the Western sort of corporate culture. What are the main findings there? And then after the break, in the second round, however, I want to go into the sort of the Eastern side, sort of our own tradition side of the tradition, where we do a deeper reflection on being more effective leader, while also trying to understand this notion of what it takes to be happy. Because, there's no point in being a highly successful business leader or whatever kind of leader you are, a social leader or whatever, but that you are perennially anxious or depressed or unhappy. You do want to take a handle on that, and so that goes back to this issue of leading and managing oneself. So hopefully there'll be a few takeaways for you. I want to start with this broad context because this is apparently a youth group. The notion of inheritance is probably always something that you are told about, which is basically that, oh, the youth will inherit everything, the youth will inherit the planet, the youth, have to take on this kind of stuff. And that's in the back of your minds. It's a kind of responsibility. It could be personal, familial, it could be national, it could be global. The youth as a group will be receiving this. There is no choice. We have to receive the planet. You have to receive the planet, and then you have to hand it over to another generation later on. There is no choice because, as we age, we have to do that, and then the older people die, and then the younger ones have to take on. But in this particular sense, I want you to think about inheritance not just of the what the youth will inherit, which is usually seen in physical and material terms, but also on the how of learning. What the how of how to live your life, or how to help others, and how to handle crisis. These types of things are also learned, and these things also are inherited. And by learning and becoming more effective and happy leaders of the future, the hope is that you would help to sustain, grow, and hand over the inheritance to the next generation, and not squander it, right? So this is very important to have that as background context. What are the characteristics of effective leaders? And I'm going to only focus on 4. And again, there are different ways of cutting it. But I wanted to give you some quick takeaways so that it becomes easy for you to say, oh, there are these 4. There are different ways of looking at it, and different people have written differently about it. But this is sort of, again, my take. Leaders are idealists, but with realism. So while they have clear vision and North Star that guides them where they wish to get to, they are very pragmatic and realistic. They work, sorry about that. They work positively, they positively work with what they have at the moment. That's the other thing. What do they have around them? What is the immediate thing that they need to attend to? They have a really good balance between short and long term. And this is important. good leaders take a long-term view as well, because there's not a shortcut to doing things well. Sometimes there's always that sense amongst the youth that, oh, I want to quickly rise in my career, or I want to quickly make a lot of money, or I want to quickly do something. But many times there are no shortcuts. Look at anything around you in the world, from animals to plants to anything that you can learn from nature, and everything takes time. It has to be done organically. And leaders tend to, good leaders, effective leaders tend to understand that. It takes hard work. Good assessment of their strengths and interests. They tend to understand what they're good at and what their strengths are. If you look at Peter Drucker's work, he calls it feedback analysis, where basically what you see is that you need to focus on, you need to build your career and what you want to do on your strengths, not on your weaknesses, obviously. But many times we tend to forget that, and it's very important to do a very honest analysis of what you're good at. And these leaders effective leaders seem to have done that already. And many of you probably have done that already. And effective leaders are great prioritizers, because they're very realistic. They can't achieve everything all at once. Effective leaders are also disruptors. In order to reach their goals, they're willing to break from tradition conditionings and structures. They use reason to question their psychological, educational, sociocultural, political conditionings, and are able to think outside the usual default patterns, that we get used to many times. So as leaders, example, Henry Ford once said, if I had asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses, right? So clearly, that would have, left the world pretty different than it is today. They're willing to and actually encourage listening and learning, because there are always new ways to disrupt and new ways to break new ground. And unless you listen to others, you're not able to do that. And so there's a sense of intellectual arrogance that comes with people who don't want to listen. There's a sense of it's almost disabled. What Drucker calls it actually is disabling ignorance. That I know enough is one way in which you look at it. The other is I do not need to learn more because that's not an area that I'm an expert in, so therefore I don't need to learn. Either way, it hurts your ability to progress and to break new ground. And lastly, humility to learn throughout life, that you're always saying, I don't know enough and I want to learn more. They are adaptive. And by adaptive, we mean, there's a new concept that has come from these Harvard professors. And I would certainly urge you to read up on adaptive leadership concept. It's a concept in which leaders do have vision and they stand on their values, and then they move ahead with taking on responsibility. They focus on results and outcomes. They're not hung up on other things. They focus on the how of delivery as well. So it's not just delivery, only the end matters, but also on how you deliver matters. They trust others. There's a tremendous sense of trust in great leaders and effective leaders, because if you don't trust people around you and the people you interact with, you can't move much. A lot of things happens because others work and are motivated. One person cannot do everything. And they understand that. And most importantly, in this adaptive leadership concept, the idea is one of practice and action as opposed to position. There is a fundamental misconception sometimes, especially amongst the young, what is my title? when you try to enter a job or try to seek a promotion, there's a sense of, oh, what is going to be my position? What's going to be my title? In the adaptive leadership concept, title is less important. It is more, what is my goal here? What am I expected to do? How can I make a difference? And so from that perspective, anybody can be an adaptive leader, and anyone can bring about change. You can be in middle level management. You can be even at the lower level. If you're able to motivate people around yourself and manage even your boss who is above and make him or her do things for you, you can deliver the results. And there are many examples of that, and I'm sure many of you are already adaptive leaders. I mean, I can think of so many examples in Nepal where people have gone out and done things, not waiting for the government or donor handouts, but carving their own path to doing things, social entrepreneurship and social NGOs and all sorts of interesting initiatives that you have initiated that I'm certainly aware of. That's adaptive leadership. And then the last one is empathy, that these leaders are ability to think and feel from others' perspectives. They disrupt and adapt, but they do it with empathy, right? So they motivate people rather than coerce them to deliver things. That's critically important. They have very high levels of emotional intelligence. Nowadays, it's called emotional quotient, like intelligence quotient, the people skills. Daniel Goleman has talked about this extensively, and I urge you to read his books if you haven't. And there is good news that EQ can be improved with practice. And I'll talk about that in the next segment after the break when we get to that. So these are the main 4 areas that effective leaders that I think embody. And these come out of a lot of research that people have done in the Western corporate settings. And what I'll do after the break, as requested, is to focus more on, as I said, more on the personal side and the happiness side of things after the break. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Arun, for your powerful sharing of all these research findings. And I must say that each of us are given an opportunity, regardless of what role we play in life. It could be at home, at work, but we are given an opportunity to become leaders in our own way. And I liked how you described, they can be also disruptors and thinking outside the box, obviously, listening skills, learning skills, and a huge amount of empathy and humility. So thank you very much. And we'll listen to you again, hear you again in the second round. I would now like to welcome Rotarian District Governor Rajib Pokhrel. He is a resident of Kathmandu. He holds MBA degree and has a strong business background. He is involved in industry, hydro, trading, financial service, and export. He has served as an executive member, secretary and vice president of Finance Company Association Nepal, and executive member of Management Association Nepal. He has traveled extensively to many countries in Asia, Europe, North and South America. He has extensive involvement in Rotary. District Governor Rajib Pokhrel has been in the district training team since 2013. He has spoken in many DRF and membership seminars. A major donor, DG Pokhrel, has attended all the district conference since 2008. I'm very happy to welcome District Governor Rajib Pokhrel.
Thank you, Neeva. Good evening to everybody. Good to be here. I've been given this topic of service for community cause and leadership role, and it's quite a challenge to cover the whole thing in 6 to 8 minutes that has been given to me. But still, I have put on few points, which from my own experience, what it takes to be a leader, to take a leadership role in a community community service. So I just would want to, especially I think I was told that there are a lot of youngsters who will be listening to this. So I just thought maybe these few points may help them, to find out, what exactly a leader, if you want to be, go and serve people, what should you be like? What sort of things you should have, what sort of characters you should have. So I think the first thing that you want to go and serve others, what you have to realize is you have to be in peace with yourself. You have to be very calm, and something like you would want to go to serve others. What you have to realize is it's not easy to give something to somebody. It's not easy to go and serve somebody. We love to have good food, we love to buy good dresses, we love to buy the best vehicle that we can find. But when the time comes to give to the community, to give to somebody who really needs it, we really think about it. We are hesitant. So first and foremost, you have to be determined. If you want to be a community, you want to be a leader, you have to be determined. Yes, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to go and serve. That is so important. So maybe you can get inspiration from different people, maybe from Mother Teresa or Florence Nightingale or somebody, maybe those things. You can read books, you can do all these meditations, and then, talk to people, who can motivate you, and then, look around where you can go and help. So that determination has to be there. First and foremost, you have to have that determination. Everybody cannot just say, yes, I want to be a leader and go to the community and serve. No, it's you have to have that determination. So first and foremost, that is number one. That is very important. The other thing is, a lot of people, youngsters especially, they say, will my small help make a difference? That's always the question. It's just a small thing. What difference will it make if I do it? Will it make a difference or not? Yes, I always say even small things make a difference. You don't have to be a hero, to become a leader, to go and serve in the community. You don't have to jump into a pool and save somebody, or you don't have to convince a terrorist to lay down his arms. You can just open a small, maybe childcare center or old age home, or go and look into some water, a sanitation project. It could be a small thing that you want to do in the community. So, that could make a difference. It could make a difference in somebody's life. Just talk about the things that we do right now because of this COVID. Those masks, I always give this example. Those masks are such a small thing, but look how important it is. There was a time when we thought mask was not important. Maybe for the Kathmanduites, because of the dust, there were few people who had those masks. But now look at how important that has become. It's a small thing. But, when we give it to people, it has made a difference. So you should, as a leader, as a person who wants to serve in the communities, always think small things also can make difference to people. So that you should never say to yourself, with this small thing, what difference will it make? Well, why should I do it? This is such a small thing that I'm going to do. Will it make any difference or not? No, everything is going to make a difference to that community. It may be nothing to you, but it could be something very big to somebody in that community. The third thing I want to talk about is, why should one be a community leader? Why? And that's another question. Why? There's so many other leadership. I think Arun did talk about a few of those things also. There's so many varieties of leadership. So why should one be? The first and foremost, of course, like I said, you can make a difference. Like I said earlier on, first thing is you can make a difference. Wherever you go, whatever you do, that small thing can make a difference. And second, which I think is very important, is you can grow and develop yourself. You see, a leadership quality, when you go and serve in the community, when you work in the community, when you're working with different people who are not in your level, we are maybe the people who are less fortunate than us. When you go and work with them, you gather a lot of experience. You grow yourself. You develop yourself. That confidence will start coming to you. You'll know how to tackle problems. There's so many, hurdles that could come, how to get over those hurdles, all these things. So these are the things you start learning. And what does that do? That brings the confidence in you. That confidence level will start going. Once you start becoming successful as a leader, then what happens is it becomes then that you start becoming confident. And what you want to do? You want to do more work. So you can do more work with other people. You try to approach people. You try to solve different problems that the community has. So these are the things, that you can develop within yourself. So that self-development this also helps a lot in self-development. You can develop yourself. And of course, the community needs leaders. If people like us do not go work in the community, then who will? I always say we are the fortunate ones. God has given us so many things. I think out of that, just few things, if you could just go to the community who need the most, to the people who need the most, that makes a difference. That will make a difference. So it's the community always needs good leaders who could come to the community, who could come to their place, who they're always looking to somebody to come and help them. So it's us, people like us, the organization that we represent, Rotary, so many of us who are here, we represent, that it makes a lot of difference in that. And then other thing is, I think Arun also, he did emphasize on that, when should you lead? When, there are a lot of people, they said, what title do I have? Like, what position? I don't have a position. Why should I go and do something? I always say, anytime you want, you can go and serve. You can go and lead. You can do something, You don't have to be a team leader. I always say to people who work around me, I'm the governor, I am the team leader here, but it's you, it's you who can motivate me. So that is a leadership role that you're already playing, because you are doing what? You are motivating your leader. So that also is part of it. You can put in your expertise in that when you go out to work. So don't wait for the title. Don't say, okay, when I become this, then I'll become a leader. No, you can start now. You are a leader by yourself. They say like leaders are born. Like I don't say. I think we can develop among ourselves to become a good leader. So what you have to think of is, have a vision, have a vision statement. Have a goal where you want to go. How you want to do it, all these things. Once you have it in you, then you can move forward. So it's very important that, as a person, you don't look for titles, you don't look for positions, you just look to the work that you want to do, to your vision, to where you want to go, how you want to take yourself, how you want to carry yourself. These are very, very important to become a leader. So this is something that one should always have in their mind. The other thing, of course, you said, how should we lead? How should one lead? Like I said, it's always planning. Planning is so important. You have to look after your team, stay with your team, where you are going to work, how you're going to work, plan that, set your goals. You could have long-term goals, you could have short-term goals, So these are the things that, you should always take care of, like, have planned. Don't just go like and say, okay, म गएर यहाँ यो काम गर्छु भनेर मात्र भएन. त्यहाँ गएपछि मैले के गर्ने हो भनेर पहिलेदेखि नै प्लान हुनु पर्यो. You have to have all that planned well, then get that responsibility, feeling of responsibility. Yes, I am the responsibility of this committee. As a leader, I am the responsible person for that community. If I don't do it, who will do it? So you plan accordingly and you move ahead accordingly. And the last thing that I want to say is, of course, the quality, of a successful community leader. It is very, very important. In Rotary, we believe in these core values. We believe in our 4-way test. Similarly, if you want to become a leader, I think you have to have that integrity. Integrity is number one. Integrity is so important. Courage. You have to have that courage to lead. You should have that guts to go and do something. That commitment is so important. As a person, you have to have a commitment. Yes, I have been given this responsibility. I have taken this responsibility. Now it is my commitment to go and do, to go and perform. Then, of course, to ability to, the ability, like, to think of others, to care of others. You have to, like, you want to go to the community, that feeling has to be there. Yes, I need to do something for this person. So that care, to care somebody, to care about somebody, that feeling you have to have. And of course, you have to be flexible. You have to be creative. So these are the things, you see. So when you become a leader, if you have these few of these things, I think you can move ahead. So, small things, big thing does not matter. I always remember this story of this man who was walking on the seashore, and he was throwing. There's so many catfish that was that had come to the shore, and then they could not go back to the waters. And then he was just picking this one fish at a time and throwing it back to the sea. And then there was somebody watching him who came to him and he said, what are you doing? There's so many catfish on the shore. What difference does it make if you just throw one or two of them? And this guy said, he just threw one fish and he said, it has made a difference to that fish, if not to all of them. So what you have to think is whatever work we do, whatever thing you do, it may be small, it may be big, go out, get that feeling to do good to the community, get within you, create that feeling, yes, I need to go and serve the community, and just follow these few of the points that I have given you. I think you will be a successful leader. Thank you, Neeva ji. Thank you very much.
Thank you. DG Rajib ji, as a Rotarian myself and many of us here, we have seen you in action. And when we see a leader walk the talk, which you have done in so many instances, and then you just don't give the talk, but you do the walking. So thank you so much. During this COVID time, there have been a lot of instances and situations where you've been there in action at the scene. Thank you very much for your inspiration. Now, my pleasure to welcome Ms. Moon Pradhan, Division A Director, Toastmasters International District 41 and Club Secretary of Zonta Club of Kathmandu. Moon Pradhan ji is currently serving as the Division A Director of Toastmasters International District 41. She has held leadership positions of Program Quality Director and Pathways Guide for Division A and Area Director for Area A1. She's also the Club Secretary of Zonta Club of Kathmandu, where she was the Z and Golden Z. We may want to ask her what those acronyms mean. So anyway, Club Coordinator for the term 2016-2018 and Advocacy, Awareness and Legislative Committee Director for the term 2018-2020. She comes from a media background of having worked as a journalist, marketer, and run an advertising agency. She has been working in the development sector in the recent past in the capacity of knowledge management, documentation, and outreach communication specialist. So I would like to welcome Ms. Moon Pradhan.
Thank you, Neeva. I've been asked to talk about my experience of being a leader and becoming a leadership position. As you may have noticed, I'm the only panelist who is a female here, and 3 others are male. In fact, this may be an anomaly where a female is included in a panel where leaders are called upon to speak. It's not surprising. If you look at the data, you will realize that women are not in decision-making roles, or women are not usually in leadership positions. In 2020, according to a Catalyst report, 40% of human resource directors are women. Only 17% are CEOs and 16% are CIOs, Chief Information Officers. Usually decision-making positions and critical positions are left to male. It was not by fluke that I have come up in the leadership positions. You just heard that Neeva told us how I am involved in Toastmasters as well as in Zonta, and in both places I have been holding leadership positions. Of course, Zonta is an organization which is mainly of women for women. We believe in making the world a better place for empowering women, and hence it is not surprising that a female is there in a leadership position. We are doing a lot of work, like the speaker just before me talked about the leadership of doing community services. We also find a lot of joy in supporting the community of like-minded professionals from diverse countries and cultures. Zonta itself stands for women's rights. So we do advocate for equality, education, and right now we are also advocating for ending child marriage, and we have always been advocating for ending gender-based violence. Now, besides that, the one area or the one organization that I got into to invest in myself, my title, if you notice, is investing on oneself. The reason females or women or girls are not usually in leadership positions are we are so engrossed in doing our job, and we're really not so much interested in developing the skills that the first speaker today talked about, the skills that we require to be in leadership position. And it doesn't come, like the earlier speakers also said, leaders are not really born, leaders can be made. And that is exactly what I try to do. I try to make myself a leader. And that's the reason I had joined Toastmasters. Toastmasters is a non-profit educational organization that not only teaches public speaking, but also enhances leadership skills. So I joined Toastmasters in 2010 when I had been a journalist for a long time and I wanted to change my profession and had started running my agencies. As pointed out, I have run an advertising agency before, and I was also in a title position in other organization where I was a director for an alternative energy company called Compound. But I was not really being a good leader. So I really needed to enhance that skill about being a leader, to be able to lead my team, to do what we wanted to do, to be able to lead the team to accomplish the goals that we had set out to achieve. So that is the reason I joined Toastmasters. In the many years that I've been there, I have been able to climb up the rung and have been able to reach the position of the division director now. But it was not easy. What I've realized is, yes, to become a good leader, you need to have very good, effective communication. You need to be an effective communicator. You need to lead by example. You cannot just not understand what the work that you are doing. You need to first be the person who understands the work the most. You may not be an expert in that, but you need to gain the knowledge regarding whatever work that you have gotten into. And there'll be a lot of ups and downs in life. There'll be a lot of ups and downs at work too. So the only way you can lead your team is if you are optimistic. If you're not optimistic, your team will not be able to have that positive attitude towards what you are trying to do. That's why, as a leader, you really need to be optimistic. And that's another thing that I learned. And another characteristic of a leader that I learned while at Toastmasters is you need to be open-minded. There'll be members in your team who will be from various diverse community. They have come from different backgrounds, they've had different upbringings, they've had different past experiences that make them different, and they may be experts in their area. So you need to be really open-minded and understand that they may know things better than you do. So you, as a leader, really need to have that open-mindedness. You cannot trust whatever your ideas are on your team. And as everybody has been saying, as a leader, one needs to demonstrate integrity. I realized that I, as a person, am better as a democratic leader. Of course, as the situation goes, you have to have different kind of leadership style. But I work best when my team knows their job best. When you have a team that has the best knowledge about what they're supposed to do, then you have half the job done. When you choose your team, do not look for people who have less idea than you, somebody that you can boss over. No. What you need to look for are people who know this better than you do. Otherwise, you could have done the job. Of course, you cannot replicate yourself and be for people, and you cannot divide that time. But when you find someone in your team, you need to find somebody who is better than you, can do that job better than you. So if you have your team who has a good idea about what they're going to be doing, then you can be a democratic leader where you consult everybody for decision making. You let them lead also, because you don't have to be the leader only. You need to motivate them to participate. You need to let them collaborate, communicate, and that way what happens is you will be able to achieve a lot in a limited time. Of course, as I said earlier, as a leader, you need to be very flexible. Sometimes you may need to be a bureaucratic kind of leader, authoritative, innovative, somebody who sets a pace, who affiliates with everybody in the team. You may need to be a coach, or you might need to be very altruistic also. But most of the times, if you have a team who has good idea about what needs to be done, then you really don't need to having authoritative kind of leadership. Like in Zonta, if you say, we have been doing a lot of community work, as I said, but in our team, we have different people leading different groups, and the work is disaggregated, or the work is not only done by one person, but many different people. I see a few of my fellow Zontians here. We have a president, Shekhar Golchha here. We have Kathmandu here, who are also leading their team. But we work together to give service. We did a lot of service, like the previous speaker was saying. We did a lot of service during COVID time also, but most of the time we're doing a lot of service to empower women. So when you come together, when you have that kind of democratic kind of thought, then you really are able to lead the team. Now you might wonder how I got this all this vision, and I must go back again to reiterate that I learned this by becoming a Toastmaster. Over the 10 years, by taking up different roles, I learned that patience needs to be done, that open-mindedness has to be there, and that only by practice, only by working as a team, you will be able to lead your team also. And this has really helped me in my professional life, because I am a communicator, and usually a communicator or somebody who works in documentation, knowledge management, doesn't usually need to lead a team, but you need to be able to sit in that management team. You are representing yourself as your team. You are the leader who is sitting there and working with the different groups of or different leaders. And usually I am the only female also there. There are very few female in the leadership teams. So I urge all the female as well as male young people who are here trying to be leaders to please invest in trying to learn those skills so that you can hone your leadership skill and grow not only professionally but also personally. I think for now that's the experience I can share in the short 6 minutes, 6 to 8 minutes that I was given. I think I have spoken for the time that I was given, and I'd like to hand over the virtual floor back to Neeva.
Thank you, Munji. Thank you very much. You know, you forgot to mention that it is, we also have a female as a moderator today. So I join you in that sense. And 1 to 3 male to 1 female is not such a bad ratio, I think, because I've seen panels that are like 8 or 9 male and maybe 1 female. So especially it can happen in Nepal. But thank you for your observation, your sharing. And you mentioned about optimism, open-mindedness, and don't always throw all of your ideas into your team. Listen to your team. The listening skill, the power of listening and communication is very important. And also, you know, getting people who know more than you so they can also guide you. But obviously you need that humility to say, you know, somebody I hired is better off, you know, in these kind of, especially technology, you know, these days. So thank you so much for your sharing. My pleasure now to welcome and introduce to you Mr. Shekhar Golchha. He is Senior Vice President, Federation of Nepalese Chambers of Commerce and Industry, FNCCI. He is Chairman and Managing Director of Golchha Group, and he comes from an organization which employs 17,000 people, and this is in Nepal. Welcome, Shekharji.
Namaskar. Good evening, everyone. And thank you, Neeva ji, for inviting me and giving me a chance to be with this such esteemed people, you know, who spoke about leadership. So thank you very much for that. Well, what I'm going to speak about today is, you know, the COVID-19. What has been the problem for us in Nepal, and why I feel that we're going to recover faster than most of the other countries. Of course, when you are a leader, I think the opportunities is something which you look for, and I'm going to talk about those opportunities today. Well, to start with, COVID-19, we all know it's hit us like a bolt, and we just don't know where it came from, and it's still not over. We don't know if we have reached the peak or, you know, we have just started off. Today, the WHO head just said that, we hopefully is going to be over in 2 years. Already, I think the world has paid or seen such devastating effects in the economy. I was reading somewhere after World War II, this has been the biggest event which has happened in the economies of the world. Millions of people have lost a job globally, and the whole economy is shrinking, and it's going to have huge impact on our lives in future. But having said this, I will want to focus what's happening in Nepal. Recently, Nepal Rashtra Bank just published a figure that almost 97% of the businesses have suffered 74% degrowth. That means 74% they degrew compared to what they were normal. So you can imagine how impactful COVID-19 is for our economy as well. And when businesses slow down so dramatically, I mean, if it's dropping 74%, and it's slowing down so dramatically, it will have chain effect. First of all, the banks are probably will have to book a lot of NPAs. We know that most of the weightage in our stock market is through the banks, and what I see in future is the stock markets are also not going to fare very well, and of course, when businesses don't do well, the revenues don't come, and when revenues don't come, government cannot spend on development, and that has again a chain reaction on the businesses. So what we see is something which is common to the rest of the world, and it's happening in Nepal as well. But what is also worrying is in Nepal, I would like to say what is happening in the employment scene. ILO just gave their report 3 days back, and it says that from 2.3%, which was our unemployment rate, we have already reached 6.1. So it is already multiplied 3 times. So we can imagine that the situation looks pretty grim, and the jobs which people have lost and are mostly in organized sector, because organized sector is 22% people have already lost their job, and we have recently signed, FNCCI recently signed an agreement with most of the unions, to save these jobs. We said that, okay, let's, even if we don't remove people, but even if they're working 50%, we just pay them 50%, and we still try to retain the job. So this is a recent development which we have done with the unions. Also, the fact that almost 4.4 million people from the unorganized sector might be losing job. Of course, these figures are guesstimates because unorganized sector figures do not come very, very clearly. But having said this, why I feel that we will recover faster than most of the countries, and I think I would like to focus there more. And if you see the challenges of the economies of our size, we speak about balance of payment, we speak about inflation rates, we speak about balance of trade, we speak about slow GDP growth, we speak about unemployment, we speak about leveraging or having cost of over leveraging the economy. But I would like to say that why we should do better in all these fronts. Like, for example, in terms of balance of payment, we all know that our balance of payment is mainly because of the remittance, which is the main source, or almost a 95% source of our foreign exchange. Surprisingly, so far, only the remittance has dropped 3%, which is, most of the experts had assumed that, in this period already, it will be 20 to 30%. It doesn't look like that so far. And we already have, foreign exchange to support our import for next 12 months. Even in World Bank standards or IMF standards, this is brilliant. So we do not have a problem in there. So the moment the COVID-19 problem solves, we will be again starting off where we left. Another thing is speaking about inflation, which is a very, very big problem in many countries, especially when the COVID-19 has hit their economy. There are economies where inflation rate has gone 10-15% or more. For in Nepal's context, we're still speaking about 6.1%, which we feel is very, very manageable, and it is healthy. I mean, it's been an average which has been there for a long, long time in Nepal. Another factor which we speak about as a major challenge for developing economies is balance of trade. We all know that we have almost 11 kharbako, we have in balance. We import more than we export. So it is almost 90:100, 90:10 ratio of balance of trade. Surprisingly, after the COVID-19 crisis has hit us, the balance of trade has actually improved by 16%. And I see a great future here as well, because we are going to become energy surplus country from probably a month or two. And what I see is our energy imports are also going to go down. So our balance of trade is going to remain very, very positive. So I feel very positive there. In terms of our GDP growth, I would like to share some figures which I've just collected. World Bank is still saying that we are talking about 1.9 to 2.5%. IMF is saying 1%. The government is still talking about 2.7%. Now you compare this to European countries or other Asian countries. I think we are faring brilliantly despite all this challenges what we have. Another very important factor is over leveraging of the economy. We all know that we are a very under leveraged economy, which basically means that the size of the GDP we have and the borrowing we have done. If you compare this to, we are a very under leveraged country compared to most of the countries around us. So when we are not leveraged, there is a possibility that we're going to recover very, very fast. Now, where do we go from here? Where I see opportunities, I would like to quickly go through that. I've just been given 6 to 8 minutes, so I'll just quickly try to go into that. Now, we all know that 60% of our population basically survives on agriculture. And it's absolutely shocking and surprising how little government is invested so far into agriculture. And if you really look at our productivity in agriculture, our staple food, the productivity is 3.22%, which is the lowest in South Asia. And this is mainly because our farms are too small. We do not have laws to do cooperative farming very well. The government hasn't invested into infrastructure like canals, roads, policies, giving knowledge or providing cheaper finance to the farmers. So this was in the past. But what I see, what is a big change happening in the government now, this year, they have increased the budget by 10 arba. They are giving finance at very, very low cost interest. So I see a great opportunity here. Just imagine that we import 2 kharba, I wrote this in Nepali, so I'm going to say this in Nepali. 2 kharba 43 arba ko we import food grain. And so you can see the headroom, you can see the opportunities what we have. But what we need to focus is more high value items, and we need to do processing here. We cannot just produce and sell it to our neighboring countries and expect it to be processed there, and you pay a lot of money to bring it back. So we need to have, and I see a lot of opportunities, not even in large scale, in MSMEs. I see a lot of opportunities in agro trade or agro based industries. Another factor I would like to say in MSME. Now, if you see in Nepal, 22% of the contribution of our GDP is through MSMEs, and almost 23% of the employment which we have is through MSMEs. And I see great opportunities here. If you see the ratio of developing countries like ours, the growth engine is always the MSMEs. And I see great opportunity here because the government now is giving finance at very low cost. They have spoken about 5% as a refinancing to most of their MSMEs. And also the fact that, there is other facilities which the government has given. I do not want to go into full details, but there's a big encouraging package to MSMEs. So I see a lot of opportunities here. Look at tourism, for example. Of course, this year was a disaster. We wanted to celebrate VNY 2020, but COVID-19 happened. So we were hoping to get 2 million tourists. But still, if you look at it in mid and long term, this is a country which can draw probably 10 times more tourists, if we invest in the infrastructure and if we market ourselves better. Of course, we need to focus now into higher paying tourists, instead of just getting the low paying tourists. So I see great opportunities here. I would like to sum up in the sense that, why I see a lot of opportunities for our country, because we are one of the youngest country in the world, and whenever there is youth, there is changes, and changes happen much faster. We are a country which has seen challenges in the past as well. We have seen times when we had huge insurgency or political changes. We survived that. We saw a period when the labor relation was really, really poor. There were strikes in every factories or every businesses, and we survived that. We survived a period when we had 16 hours of load shedding. We also survived blockades from our neighboring countries. We've survived various other challenges in our economy, and I'm sure, and this is a challenge which we're going to survive and is going to come as an opportunity for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Shekharji, for sharing such great numbers and data. And I must say that you're ending with such a positive note for all of us actually, especially the youth entrepreneurs, the younger generation here who are also our viewers today. And it's going to be a lot of weight on their shoulders because we are all looking out to them, for leading us in the future forward. So what you said, like our country will recover faster than any other countries, it's absolutely encouraging in spite of the grim reality that we have to face with all the number crunching that you have done and shared with us. Thank you so much. And before I go any further, I do need to really thank the Zontians, President Shekhar Golchha, who is your better half, who's here today, and the Zontian board, and obviously the Toastmasters, whoever are present here today. I mentioned it earlier, but again, I'm mentioning it.